How to perform the perfect bench press. Step 1, the setup. Sit squarely at the end of the bench. This will ensure you don't whack your head as you lay down. We then slide back through the bench until our head is off the back of the bench. We then set our grip. Width will vary widely depending on the individual and their goals. The wider the grip, the less distance the bar will have to travel, making it optimal for competitive powerlifters. It will come down to trial and error. I suggest starting with the pinkies on the rings of the bar and going from there. In regards to grip technique, we want to position the bar across the meaty part of the palm, not too far forward in the hand, whereas the thumb is required to take all the load, or not too high in the hand, which will result in excessive extension of the wrist. We then set the feet. We position the forefoot roughly under the knee. Once planted, try to avoid moving them out of position, as this will likely hinder your setup. We then actively push the heel towards the ground, building tension throughout the lower body prior to sliding back through and firmly planting our traps into the bench. We then try to breach the gap between the glutes and the shoulders. This is going to help create your arch. Contrary to popular belief, this is the safest, most efficient setup for the bench press, as the extension can massively reduce your range of motion and allow space for your shoulder blades to be pulled back and down effectively. We then reapply the pressure on the heels, driving them hard towards the ground and keeping the pressure on throughout the whole set. This will create stability, rigidity, and power. We can also opt for a flat foot setup, and the same principles will still apply. A common mistake beginner lifters often make is adjusting their feet or moving their feet around once the bar is unracked or throughout the set. This will massively affect your stability and ability to produce force from the lower body up into the bar, so keep the feet planted. We then breathe and brace. And prior to unracking the bar, we take large volume of air in. Unlike the squat and the deadlift, where we want diaphragmic breathing, during the bench press we want to inflate that chest as much as possible. This will result in expansion of the rib cage, which will reduce our range of motion even further and create stability throughout the upper body. From there, we ensure the shoulders are set. We want to pull the shoulder blades back and down. Retraction and depression. This will put the shoulder in a safe, stable, and strong pressing position. Now that we have everything set, it's time to unrack the bar. And as we unrack the bar, we want to keep the shoulders pinned back and down. Avoid allowing the shoulders to protract or come forward as we unrack the bar. We now move to step 2, the descent. And in terms of descent speed, I recommend finding a speed where you can maintain stability and your position throughout the descent. Let's talk touching point. This will also differ from individual to individual, but as a good rule of thumb, we want to aim for a touching point of just below the nipple line. Here I am benching with approximately a 45-degree elbow angle, but anywhere from 75 to 45 is typically considered a strong, safe angle. A common mistake that can really hinder your bench gains is inconsistency with your touching point. So once you find that sweet spot, work hard to create consistency around the execution. Step 3, the press. So we are driving those heels into the ground. The shoulders are back and down, lats in the back pockets. We have a big brace driving the chest up towards the bar. From here, we press the bar up and back over our face. Unlike the vertical bar paths of the squat and the deadlift, the optimal bar path for the bench press is roughly between 70 and 50 degrees up and back. I am pressing at approximately a 60-degree angle here. A common mistake during the press phase is elbow flare. This is when the elbows flare outwards, typically resulting in the elbows shooting behind the bar and has a strong correlation with elevation of the shoulders. for the shoulders coming up out of position. This will put the shoulder under excessive load and possibly even result in injury. So keep that strong elbow tuck. So now that you know how to perform the perfect bench press, all there is to do is reset and repeat.